Hello, my name is Nicole Butler, and I am a student in the Negotiation and Conflict Management program at the University of Baltimore. I want to invite you into a conversation, one that blends lived experience, research, and a little imagination. We're going to explore a critical yet often overlooked aspect of mergers and acquisitions: emotions. Did that word make you cringe a little? That's okay, because by the end of this presentation, I hope to shift your perspective. We'll talk about how we can unlock post merger success by viewing the human experience of post merger integration, or PMI, not as a barrier, but as one of the most valuable assets of integration. Now, imagine this: it's Monday morning, you've just grabbed your Starbucks and settled in, ready to take on the week. You open your inbox, and there it is, an email from leadership that reads, "Dear team, we are excited to announce that as of today, we have been acquired by XYZ Company. This strategic move represents a significant step forward in our continued growth and innovation. In the coming weeks, we will begin the integration process. More information will be shared as it becomes available. We appreciate your continued dedication during this transition and look forward to what the future holds. Sincerely, the leadership team." After reading that, what thoughts and emotions come up for you? If you're anything like most employees, your mind immediately races with questions like: am I being laid off? Will my role change? Who's making decisions now? Why didn't I know this was coming? Or maybe feelings like fear or anxiety, or maybe even betrayal. We'll take a breath. We're done imagining for now. The purpose of this exercise was to show how natural it is to have an emotional reaction to a radical change. During this presentation, I will provide you with a comprehensive overview of my research, starting with describing the M&A paradox found in the literature, then providing an overview of the emotional experience of employees of acquired companies, then an overview of the role of middle managers from acquired companies. Then I will provide an overview of my research methodology, data, themes, and recommendations. My interest in this topic came from reflecting on my experience working as an HR generalist at a company pursuing rapid growth through mergers and acquisitions. With each deal, I witnessed firsthand the emotional disruption experienced by employees in the acquired companies who were suddenly being asked to adapt without clarity, support, or even acknowledgement of what they were going through. At the time, I was only about 2 years into my HR career, and this was my first encounter with the complexities of M&A. I didn't feel fully equipped to make an impact, but I did what I could within my role to support employees. I was deeply disappointed by the company's lack of response to meeting the needs of employees with care. And I remember wishing I could have done more because it was clear that the emotional toll of this transition was being completely overlooked. That experience stuck with me. And since then, I've learned that what I experienced wasn't unique. M&A deals have become a go-to strategy for companies looking to scale quickly, gain competitive advantage, and drive innovation. As Bunzl 2017 put it, it has become all but impossible for firms to compete in today's global environment without growing through M&A. And yet, despite their popularity, most M&As failed to live up to expectations. In fact, 70 to 90% fail to meet their financial goals. So while the value of global M&A deals in 2024 reached 2.6 trillion, the failure rates tell a different story. That disconnect is what I call the M&A paradox. M&A leaders invest heavily in financial strategy but overlook the human experience, and that often is where things fall apart. One of the most consistently cited challenges in the literature around mergers and acquisitions is the emotional reactions of employees, especially those from the acquired companies during the post merger integration phase. And the consequences of ignoring these emotions are not small. One study cited that between one third and one half of M&A failures occurred not because of bad strategy or financial modeling, but because post merger management is weak and psychological, cultural, and people issues are undervalued. In fact, up to 50% of M&A failures are attributed to human capital issues. On the slide, this is what I call the emotional chain reaction. When left unaddressed, it can quickly unravel even the most promising deal. It often begins with employees experiencing identity loss, fear, and disorientation, especially when they have had no input and received little or vague communications. That emotional disruption leads to survival mode, a reactive mindset where people disengage, protect themselves, and resist change. From there, we see merger syndrome set in, where negative emotions of acquired employees paralyze the functioning of the entire organization. And ultimately, this emotional breakdown shows up in the business: disrupted productivity, poor retention, and integration efforts that fall flat. During my time as an HR generalist, I noticed that the people I interacted with most during the integration were the middle managers of the acquired companies. They became key intermediaries, sharing information, advocating for their teams, and trying to hold things together. Even when they didn't have all the answers, they showed up for their teams, and that stuck with me. They had earned the trust of their teams before the merger and were now in a position to serve as emotional managers and influencers. These middle managers were playing a critical yet often overlooked role during PMI, one that directly shapes outcomes. To help visualize their position, I used the image of an hourglass. At the top, we have executives focused on strategic goals and the M&A vision. At the bottom, we have employees who are concerned with personal and career stability. And right in the narrow center, the pressure point, are middle managers. They are the ones through whom all communication, emotion, and execution must pass. In my research, two key roles of middle managers from acquired companies emerged. First, the connector, and second, the stabilizer. As connectors, they translate high level strategy into actionable steps and bridge communication between executives and frontline staff. As stabilizers, they manage their own emotions while supporting their teams, and they provide as much clarity, empathy, and reassurance as they can in the midst of the disruption. And all this is happening to them while they too are adjusting to the change. They're asked to carry the emotional weight without always being given the tools, support, and preparation to do so effectively. And yet, one source cited that middle managers are far more effective in making change possible than senior executives by leveraging informal networks and leading from the middle. That influence, grounded in trust and proximity, makes them essential to successful integrations. So, when we talk about post merger success, we can't afford to overlook this group. They're not just middle management, they're the human bridge between intention and impact. The purpose of this qualitative narrative study explores how middle managers from acquired US based companies manage the emotional responses of their teams during the PMI phase. Using semi structured interviews with open ended questions, I interviewed two middle managers from companies that underwent PMI within the last 5 years to answer these three research questions. Next, I would like to provide you with a snapshot of the interview data. Jordan was an HR administrator at a small, close knit company. Shortly after the merger announcement, they described that the employees went into survival mode, despite being told their jobs were safe. Trust in leadership quickly eroded due to poor communication, unclear onboarding, and pressures to sign restrictive contracts. One employee even resigned and relocated just weeks after buying a home. Jordan stepped in as an emotional anchor, supporting their team without guidance or support from leadership. Eventually, the emotional weight and lack of clarity led to their burnout. Their recommendation: leadership needs to show up early and in person, provide spaces for emotional processing, and lead with empathy, treating people as currency, not collateral. Next, Tracy, a middle manager at a tech company, found themselves navigating a difficult post merger environment. Employees, including Tracy's team, quickly entered survival mode after the merger announcement and the following leadership actions. The company's leadership failed to establish trust due to poor communication, lack of transparency, and inconsistent policies. Notably, one of Tracy's top performers was reassigned and terminated without consulting Tracy, sending a shockwave through her team. As morale plummeted, Tracy took on the emotional burdens of supporting their team. They increased one on one meetings and created spaces for the team to connect and vent. But without leadership support, the weight of the situation took its toll, leading to Tracy's burnout. Their recommendations: middle managers need proper training and resources to navigate the emotional challenges during PMI. Organization wide support groups should be established to build emotional resiliency and collaboration. And HR leadership needs to play a proactive role in providing timely information to address both personal and professional impacts of PMI. Four themes emerged from the data that revealed a likely cause and effect relationship. The causes include a senior leadership disconnect and structural and strategic planning deficiencies. Participants highlighted a disconnect between senior leadership's focus on business objectives and the emotional toll of employees, which deepened the resistance of employees to the merger. And the lack of clearly defined PMI strategy, underperforming HR departments, and inefficient support infrastructure created confusion and inconsistency during the transition. The effects of these oversights include emotional turmoil during PMI and unsustainable managerial coping strategies. The emotional strain of PMI pushes employees into emotional survival mode, leaving many feeling disempowered and unable to fully engage in the integration due to a lack of support and unclear direction. And despite minimal organizational supports, middle managers used creative strategies to maintain team morale and provide emotional support, absorbing staff frustrations and anxieties that led to a sense of burnout. Based on my research, personal experience, and expertise, I have the following four recommendations. First, early in person engagement by leadership of the acquiring company. This early face to face engagement by executives and HR leaders at the acquired companies sets a foundation of trust and transparency immediately following the merger announcement. Hosting an in person kickoff that includes meet and greets, strategy sessions, and Q&A opportunities humanizes leadership and signals a genuine commitment to employee well being and open communication. Next, engaging in strategic due diligence that accounts for the human experience of PMI is a key to minimizing emotional disruptions and increased post merger success. Feldman 2024 outlines 6 elements that are critical to address when engaging in strategic due diligence planning, including knowledge transfer, degree and speed of integration, asset and people retention, and process adoption. Next, implementing structured supports. Achieving human capital synergies requires investing in systems, tools, and resources that support employees, particularly middle managers, through the turbulence of PMI. Structured supports enable employees to move from emotional survival mode to active participation, safeguarding the human side of the merger and enhancing overall integration outcomes. Finally, contracting third party conflict trained professionals. External conflict management professionals offer invaluable support in navigating the emotional complexities of post merger integration by facilitating structured dialogues, mediating tensions, and delivering relevant trainings. Their involvement helps shift emotional climates, promote team resilience, and build long term internal capacity to manage change effectively. Now, I want you to imagine again that you just received an email announcing that your company is merging with another. But this time, the message is different. Here we go. Dear team, we're excited to announce that as of today, we have been acquired by XYZ Company. This strategic move represents a significant step forward in our continued growth and innovation. We understand this news may raise questions and emotions, and we are committed to ensuring that you are supported every step of the way. To foster transparency and connection during this time of change, the leadership from XYZ Company will be on site next week for a 3-day visit. Their goal is to personally introduce themselves, share key information, and hear directly from you. What can you expect during this visit? First, a kickoff meeting and integration plan overview. During this meeting, you will learn about the merger, the vision moving forward, and how your feedback can shape a successful integration. Next, a benefits information session. HR representatives will walk you through what to expect regarding benefits, payroll, and other employment related questions. Next, HR open office hours. Speak one on one with the HR team members to ask any questions specific to your situation. Finally, a support resources overview. During this session, we will introduce new support options available to help you navigate this transition emotionally, professionally, and practically. We believe in the power of people to drive success in this new chapter. Your voice matters and your contributions are valued. We are committed to building this future together with transparency, respect, and care. More details on the visit schedule will follow shortly. Warmly, the CEO. So, what thoughts and emotions come up for you after reading this message? As we wrap up, here are a few key takeaways I hope you'll carry forward. First, emotions matter. And I'll say it again, emotions matter. They're not a distraction, they're central to whether post merger integration succeeds or fails. Second, middle managers, especially those from acquired companies, play a critical role as connectors and stabilizers. They deserve real support, not just responsibility. Third, planning for people, not just strategy or systems, must be a part of the due diligence process from day one. And finally, when we engage with empathy, communicate clearly, and create spaces for emotional processing, we build not just smoother integrations, but healthier, stronger organizations. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, reflections, or thoughts you'd like to share, feel free to drop them in the chat below. I'll be checking in and would love to continue the conversation with you.